I'm Simone from Tomorrow's Forest, and we're here in the beautiful Dorset countryside to talk to Jim Bettle from the Dorset Charcoal Company about the production of charcoal and why it's a great sustainable use of timber. Hi, I'm here with Jim Bettle from Dorset Charcoal Company, and he's going to talk us through first of all, Jim, how did you start Dorset Charcoal Company and what inspired you to start it?
Okay, so 25 years ago or more, back in the late 90s, I'd done various jobs, and one being doing a bit of golf course construction, and saw a pile of timber that had been cut and stacked, and the clients couldn't find any market for it, so they pushed up and burnt it. And I saw this waste, and I worked for Thatcher for a few years, and he, very knowledgeable guy about the woods and where the spars were coming from, and he also mentioned that he thought there was a future in charcoal. And as I looked into it, I discovered that we import over 95% of all the charcoal used in this country. And knowing that there was this wasted timber resource, I was inspired to see if I could do something about that.
That's a huge percentage of imported charcoal, isn't it?
It's crazy. And even over the last 25 years, nothing's really changed. We might have nudged it down to about just over 90%, but we're only talking 1 or 2 percentage points. It is a phenomenal amount of charcoal is imported in this country. And
is there a problem with this import, apart from sort of obvious sort of carbon dioxide emissions?
Yeah, the problems are huge with imported charcoal. A recent study by the Earthworm Foundation last year highlighted that charcoal is the third or fourth most destructive product we use in this country, in Western Europe, for forest destruction. So they're talking about soy, they're talking about palm oil, and then charcoal's right up there.
So people are actually deforesting to create charcoal?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, quite often it can be on the following through on timber extraction, but charcoal is very much a driver as well, because of the volumes that not only the UK but Europe also import. And there is no environmental regulation on this charcoal.
Okay, so there's no forestry standards on the sort of, or an industry regulating the charcoal that's coming into this country? No,
it's in my view, it's a crime that UK timber regulations and previously EU timber regulations exempt charcoal from those regulations. So literally there is no environmental accreditation for any of that charcoal coming into this country. It doesn't have to be.
So how are you guys doing things differently?
So as I pointed out, that we highlighted the fact that there is a timber resource that is underused in this country, and a lot of our woodlands are by their very nature smaller and lower value timber. So we find a use for a bit like the timber we're sitting in front of here, which are smaller diameter. Some call it waste, misshapen. Certainly with coppices, we will come in when coppice is overstood and is no longer of use to other craftsmen. We'll be the first driver to come in and see those woods managed. So we are we're cooking wood, and that wood that we are converting is of a lower value. It is the main part behind what we do, is the fact that we work with foresters, landowners, estate managers to actually see some management brought back into their woodlands. Yeah. So the piece of woodland that we're located at today is a classic example of there would be no other market for this sort of timber. As a charcoal, we are providing an economic driver for management to happen. When they can replant here, it's going to be a mixture of oak and sitka. But I'm really proud, and I could take you around Dorset and show you many a woodland that just hadn't seen any management for years until we provided that initial income by wanting the product that they could bring out of.
So Jim, this is the wood you're working in at the moment. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the site and what's happened here and how you guys have turned up here?
Yeah, well, this is we're in Blake's Wood, and it's a classic case of Dorset woodland. Dorset itself is characterised pretty much like the national average of about 11% of the county is wooded, but very much characterised by small farm woodlands and not large forests. So a piece of woodland like this has been undermanaged for years and years and years, and actually has very little material that would be of any use to either construction or firewood merchants. It's quite small. But in order to enhance the product that's still here and to get some future trees, we're going through and doing a thinning operation, where the material will be used by us, because we can go down to quite low diameter timber and convert it into charcoal, but that provides a driver for the management to happen.
Great, and I believe you take your kiln to where the work's happening, don't you? So there's no sort of transporting.
Very much so. So yes, we are a mobile operation, and as I said earlier, a lot of farm woodland in Dorset as well. And these woods are often characterised, they're quite difficult to get to. So as long as we can get our kilns into the woods, we can then take the product out. So if these remote woods, if you like, these small remote woods, if you had to transport that timber all the way out of the wood down to a roadside or ride side to then get put on a lorry, again, it doesn't make economic sense. So the fact that we can move our kilns in to these types of woodlands and negate having to move the timber vast distances makes the economics work.
And obviously that reduces the carbon footprint.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, again, we talked earlier about the charcoal coming from halfway around the world. That has got a huge carbon footprint. The fact that we're not shifting our timber great distance. Timber is heavy, charcoal's lighter. And the fact that we have to transport our charcoal away, it reduces the carbon footprint of that charcoal massively.
Hi, so this is one of your kilns. Could you explain to me how it works, what the smoke steam is coming out, and it's dug into the ground, is it?
No, so these we were saying these are mobile ring kilns,
yeah.
And they basically flip up and they roll like a wheel. And the small ports that you can see around the bottom, yeah, are independent little feet that we sit the kiln down, and then we build up with soil all around the edge. So this is a build-up of soil, and like I say, they just tip up and we roll them into place. What we're doing here is cooking wood. So it's called pyrolysis, and we're, if I may, if you pick up any piece of wood, the majority of the weight of it is water and oil. So by setting fire to the wood, we are converting it. We are losing the oil, turns into a gas and burns inside the kiln, and the water in the wood, the moisture, is driven off the steam. There's a whole process to how we load the kiln. Yeah. So there's a pattern. You don't just chuck the wood in. And we got this one going about an hour ago, and it sits with the lid off for a little bit to get going, and then as you get control of it, the lid settles down and we seal it with soil around the top. The only way we know what's going on is by monitoring the smoke. Mm-hmm. So it's the intensity of the smoke and the colour. And this will burn now for approximately 10 hours. We'll move the chimneys around in a couple of hours' time just to rotate them. But what we're looking at coming out of here is, you can see I put my hand across it. Let's do it with a spade. And hopefully you can see on there, that's water. So it's the steam, we're driving out the steam, excuse me, from the timber. The beauty of the charcoal we're making is the high carbon content. So you're basically you're losing all the things you don't want in your wood to end with something that's nearly 90% carbon.
Wow. And I think you said to me earlier that that's a higher percentage of carbon than a lot of the imported.
Absolutely. So another great thing about British charcoal is the quality. It's a lot of the imported charcoal that comes into this country has quite a low carbon content. It might be as low as 60, 65, 70%, and consequently it's quite difficult to light. So people probably have a lot of experience of having to put lighter fuels, yeah, or lighter blocks onto their charcoal. The beauty of British charcoal, high carbon content, high porosity, which means that you don't need any lighter additives to get it going, literally newspaper, and you can be cooking on it in quarter of an hour.
So this is some of the finished product you've got in here. You're going to show us some of the charcoal.
Yeah, so the majority of people know our business for barbecue charcoal, and that's what we've referenced that already on the fact that it's easy to light. Here's a classic example, nice bit of oak charcoal, and there's a bit of hazel. Each charcoal has different characteristics and pretty much transfers through the properties that it would have as a firewood. They follow through to being charcoal. So we only do hardwoods, and we do in here we have a mixture of ash, hazel, and some oak. Again, we hook out the largest pieces for barbecues, and we do that, as you can see, with the bags around the edge. We tend to have cages, and we'll lift out, and then we get to this bottom section where Mike is now, emptying away, and we pretty much shovel out the last few remnants, the last half dozen or so blue sacks, we call them, of the waste, which then goes back and gets processed at our yard. All our charcoal has a use, so although everyone knows it for barbecue charcoal, it's got so many uses, and historically we've used charcoal for so many things in this country, from filtration through to powder for pyrotechnics, as an additive for animal feed, as a supplement to help the digestion. And here today we're here to talk about biochar and the wonderful uses it has when incorporated into soil to aid in the propagation of plants and when you're planting.
Jim, so now we're here by a pile of biochar. So could you talk us through what it is, how you grade it, what it's used for, what the benefits are, what the history of you sort of selling biochar is?
Yeah, well, biochar was one of the first sort of co-products or byproducts of charcoal production that I learned about when I established the business. And it was highlighted to me by a BBC Horizon programme that was looking at how civilizations were sustained thousands of years ago in the Amazon, and they dug down and they discovered a seam of charcoal, terra peta, that had been used by the people back then to incorporate into the ground to provide the fertility to grow crops to sustain these populations. So terra peta is well known, and charcoal use in soil, in horticulture, in agriculture, is massively beneficial. So what we have here is the same charcoal that we've been producing for the barbecues.
Yeah.
It's all made from hardwood, but it's basically dust up to 10 millimeter particle size. So when we were looking earlier, we saw the waste bags, or not waste, but the bags of the smaller material that was left in the kilns. We take that back to the yard and we put it over graders to then provide us with this material. The benefits of it? Well, as we said before, the charcoal is nearly 90% carbon, and the benefits of that are that it's incredibly good for plant growth. It has massive porosity, so a teaspoonful of our British charcoal powder has a molecular surface area of a football pitch. It's mind-blowing. So on a molecular level, the structure of carbon, of charcoal, is fantastic. Now the benefits of that are both from an irrigation point of view, that it will hold water. So on that initial dousing or rainfall, it will hold that and slowly release that round plants. And similarly, it will also take in nutrients. So any sort of goodness in the soil will leach into the charcoal and slowly release that, which again is massively beneficial to growth. There's been research done on plant growth, and it's been proven that you will get stronger, healthier plants where biochar has been incorporated around it.
And in terms of carbon sequestration, that carbon's locked away in the soil, isn't it? It doesn't get released.
This is carbon sequestration.
Yeah.
If you're putting biochar into the ground, you are burying carbon. There's nothing better. I'm really passionate about the charcoal we make beyond the beyond the barbecues, which is great because it's cutting out something from abroad that is causing deforestation. But I am super passionate about seeing more of our carbon, our charcoal, go back into the ground, and that can not just biochar, also the powders for cosmetics will end up in watercourses and back in the ocean. Yeah. So yes, very exciting stuff.
So how long does it take to break down in the soil?
Well, the beauty of hardwood biochar, because or charcoal, is it will last for millennia. These pieces will not break down. So there's a difference between different types of biochar. You can carbonise any material. You can carbonise grass, straw, softwood, hardwoods. The beauty of hardwoods is their longevity and their structure. That they will, they've got this increased porosity as well, but also, like I say, the longevity. They will last. On an environmental note, the statistics have been published that show that for every kilo of charcoal biochar that you put into the ground, you are taking out 3.6 kilos of CO2 from the atmosphere through the forestry and through the conversion and going into the ground. So you put a ton of charcoal into the ground, that's 3.6 tons of carbon dioxide removed from the atmosphere.
That's great stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
We said about the mycorrhizal growth and it helps with that, but we've supplied large volumes to vineyards for tree planting, for vine planting, where they have come back, and one of the best testimonials we have is from the vineyard manager, who said that the vines planted that incorporated charcoal with bark and a fertiliser have gone on to prove such pest resistance, such higher yield, such resistance to drought. So yeah, it's a great product.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, because it's a natural product, that's why the mycorrhizal network can tap into it, can take the carbon, can take shuttle it around the mycorrhizal network to the plants.
Exactly. Again, we said about that porosity, that molecular porosity, and that's something that the mycorrhizals appreciate.
So in terms of volume, how much do you sort of dilute it? How big is this little bag down here that you've got for the garden centres? How big an area would that cover?
So it's the same for the for all types of planting, if you like, but basically we're saying it's 1 part biochar to 10 parts soil. So a little bag like this is being bought predominantly by gardeners for their hanging baskets, for their house plants, because a little bit of incorporation of charcoal goes back to what I was saying about the reduction in the need for irrigation. So it will holiday-proof your hanging baskets, but I incorporate it in mine at home, and literally a good dousing, and we'll slowly release that water over time.
So if we were looking at this on a large tree planting scheme like HS2, how would you apply this? How would you make that part of the application process when the trees are planted?
Well, there are many ways to crack a nut, if you like, but I mean the obvious one is you're talking about a small amount with each sapling. So you could have a side bag or whatever where you're introducing it as the plant goes in. Similarly, if you're having any sort of a ball of soil or on the root itself, there's a chance that the charcoal could be incorporated at that stage.
So dipping before it's. So in terms of with the sort of like adding it with a handful, it's a bit like the fertiliser tabs that they put in at the moment, but it would be a much more natural product than sort of organophosphates. Or, you know.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, the organophosphates is. It will be providing a benefit, and the charcoal will hold that and make the longevity of that phosphate so much greater. But we also do an enriched biochar. Okay. So this, if you like, is what we call our gardener's biochar, or our raw biochar, which is just charcoal of a grade, dust up to 10 mil. But our enrichment, there are many ways you can enrich biochar, and lots of people have their different recipes. And originally, when we first started, we would do it with farmyard manure, and you basically mix and you leave for months for it to infuse all those goodies back into the charcoal. These days we use a digestate which is coming from anaerobic digesters. So the farm material they've gained their energy that they want from it, and they're left with a high nitrogen fibrous material that we then mix with our charcoal, which would be doing the job of the fertilizer that you mentioned. So yes, there are many ways of bringing those benefits to the plant.
You mentioned earlier about applying it to existing trees to help them fight disease as well.
So yeah, there's been plenty of studies done, and a little bit of TV back on Countryfile a couple of years ago, where they were where you have heritage trees, or trees of particular value that are showing signs of disease. They've been incorporating biochar with air guns into the ground to give the tree the boost, and it's been proven to make the trees more resistant and bring back their health. So again, very natural product, very natural solution to something that nature already knows about, to increase the carbon around new growth. It has been shown to have benefits.
We hope you've enjoyed finding out more about biochar. If you want more information, please have a look at the Dorset Charcoal Company website. There'll be a link in the section below. And for more similar content from us, please like, share and subscribe.